Hello, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you don't know who I am. I'm Ryan Horton, your neighborhood friendly philosopher, therapist, musician, um, artist, creator, uh, alchemist, so on, ranter. Anyways, today I want to talk about kind of two different things, but it's all the same nook. Um, so far, there are two things in our American society, at least, um, that I find toxic and unhelpful in regards to everybody else, really. Like you and everybody else, everybody, the society. Um, and it really holds us back in a way too. We it's actually a little funny the way we think about human progress and technology and all these and population and all these other things and how it's literally skyrocketed. But people still refuse to look at the ways that our society isn't, performing at peak. Um, and I'm not necessarily talking about like murderers and just criminals and people that are obviously not helping, like in their power, you know, but more so along the lines of manipulation and gaslighting everyone in society into kind of relinquishing their power in a way. So what I'm talking about is two things. One is society's sort of obligation, or I don't know a good word to use, to be honest, but society's leaning towards making everybody, especially kids, stop crying and complaining or whining or whatever. And I don't know. I just find that I find that very toxic and mean, cruel, to force kids to abandon parts of who they are, for the literally to please the adults. Like that's where it stems from. I mean, it's the adults. So what I'm talking about is specifically is one of the Christmas carols, one of the famous ones. You better not pout, you better not shout, you better not cry. I'm telling you why, or something. However, it's ordered. Um, it's a Christmas carol, literally convincing kids, and it's susceptible, largely and targeted at kids to manipulate them into being good, good kids. I don't know why society is framed this way. I don't know if it's like a test or something. Like you're an adult once you stop faking your happiness or some shit like that. I don't know. I find it to be very hurtful and harmful to kids. And the worst part about it is it's like a cult that indoctrinates the kids into this this paradigm of abandoning who they are as they get older. And interestingly enough, it is tied to Christianity, which is my second, or religion and Christianity, which brings me to my second um, point, I forget it. I know it is, but oh my god. No, I'm not pausing this video until I figure it out. You're gonna sit here with me until I remember. Pleasure. Especially, well, really kind of all throughout at least American history that I'm aware of. But just as prominent today, there's this, I don't know, I want to say dichotomy, but I don't know if that's the right word. I don't know about dilemma, but there is this inferiority complex or superiority complex where people are trying to convince other people. I don't know who or what or why or when, or I know when, but it can be anybody. Anybody is susceptible to being a victim of this and a abuser of this, of telling other people to stop enjoying pleasure. And of course, there is the counter argument of saying there's always too much and you shouldn't overdo it. You know, it is unhealthy and for very many ways, for a lot of ways, in a lot of ways, like eating too much sugar or, you know, too much food, etc. You name it. But there's a flip side to this that people are trying to convince themselves and other people that they should stop enjoying certain pleasures. A big one being masturbation. And I do want to separate it from porn because I feel like porn is unhealthy. And you could say that I'm also trying to prevent you from a pleasure. If you enjoy watching porn, don't let me stop you. But I do personally feel that porn activates lust inauthentically or unnaturally, especially today. I mean, it's one, I don't know, but it's porn is only getting better and with the internet. So it's really good at activating this artificial feeling of lust, and I find it to be detrimental. But at the same time, I understand that porn helps masturbation become, well, for men anyways, a lot quicker, a lot more accessible to the orgasm, to the climax. It just makes things easier and quicker. But so I'm not like a huge fan of porn. I'm not really a fan of porn, but I do feel like masturbation is something we shouldn't be holding each other accountable for. Like it's not exactly the same thing as a body count. In other words, like I don't count how many times I've masturbated. I've done it countless times. But I just feel as though it's only hurting other people when you try and convince them that it's a bad thing to do, when it is literally natural. It is, by definition, natural. It's the most natural form of pleasure you can have, really. I mean, it's more natural than eating a pizza. Isn't that kind of funny? Masturbation is a more natural pleasure than eating a pizza. And yet, we will shove our faces full of fucking food and all kinds of shit, all kinds of stuff. And then turn around and be like, masturbation's bad. And yeah, there's these scientific studies that go both ways, like the benefits of masturbating, the benefits of not masturbating, the cons of masturbating, the cons of not masturbating. It's kind of wishy washy, and it's like, well, why am I even listening to either side? Because nobody can even agree on if it's a good thing to do it or not. But more than that is it's obviously a pleasure. And it is really detrimental to convince somebody that indulging in a pleasure is bad, especially when it's one given to them by God or just, naturally it is theirs. It is your pleasure. It is your, how do I say this? It is your own pleasure to enjoy at your whim. It really is. And you could be more responsible with it. You could always be more responsible with your pleasures and your indulgences. But at the end of the day, it is still 100% yours to claim. You when it comes to masturbation and even like things like eating or entertainment, it is nobody else's business but yours. And people can feed you all of these studies and shit that convince you one way or the other, but at the end of the day, it is still your decision to do it. And when you indulge in other people's um, ideal lifestyle and let them tell you how to live your life, you start self-attacking every time you indulge in a pleasure that you're not supposed to be enjoyed indulging in. And so I want to tie this really quickly to my first point of people convincing you not to be human. You're not allowed to cry, you're not allowed to pout, you're not allowed to complain, you're not allowed to whine, you're not allowed to feel pleasure, you're not allowed to masturbate, you're not allowed to do this, and that. Why are adults so hell bent on making kids suffer? It is weird too when I frame it this way. Some schools, and I know there's like some reasoning behind this, but at the same time, it is kind of alarming the ways in which schools are becoming prisons. Not all of them. It is, I think, more rare. I think most schools are pretty normal to my know. I can't claim to know, but my schools were normal. We had a security officer, and that was it. Like that, it was just very minimal. But I do know there are some schools that exist in America that have become prison-esque. It is alarming. It is weird, and to a certain extent, I can understand why. But at the same time, it's like the solutions that people are taking to solve gun violence and crimes and school violence is very dystopian and very uh, just negative. Just really, I don't know. I can't say I would want to work at one of those schools as a teacher. But either way, it's just this whole weird dichotomy. I think I'm using that word right. Of parents or adults, people in authority, police officers. It's there's no shortage of adults with power complexes. And it's crafted our entire society, both online and in the real world, into this weird power dynamic where kids have to grow up facing adults. And like I said, I can see some value in the process of a kid becoming an adult. But at the same time, I just don't feel like it's very helpful to help kids grow faster and more efficiently, more effectively, and in the direction that they actually want to go in. There's a difference between being a hurdle that somebody has to overcome and being an enemy that is preventing somebody from being who they want to be. Being an enemy. There's a difference between being a hurdle and being an enemy. And I think it requires a lot of discernment to understand when you are required to be that. But at the same time, our society is way too toxic. We like to throw around words like manipulation and gaslighting, and they are useful, but they aren't solving the problem. Even being aware of it isn't enough often. People don't even want to be aware of it. That's how awful it is. It's this indoctrination into like a cult of dissatisfaction. And then we go around the fucking circles of drugs and shit to artificially sustain levels of satisfaction while also tearing down the natural parts, the natural aspects of satisfaction that we can enjoy any day. I'm not, like I said, I don't know the specific down to fucking, I don't know how to word it. I don't know the very specific sciences of masturbation. All I know is I masturbate and I feel good. And like I said, I'm willing to separate masturbation from porn. Porn is a different beast that has its own place in whether it's good or not, the pros and cons. But I feel like masturbation and other things that make us human, like very human things, are it's like people like to strip them away from us. And people like to complain about they're taking our rights away, they're taking our, freedoms and all these other things, they're taking our guns and shit. Nobody's complaining about the underlying behavior, the inhumane uh, doctrine that is passed down upon us. And I want to also emphasize that even though this is very tied to Christianity or religion in general, I still believe in God. I believe in divinity. I believe in um, supernatural, just very. I just think it's very real and very. I don't know. It is not just an idea. It is not just a metaphor or a theory. I do believe that divine nature exists in our world, but I also feel like Christianity and religion plays a rather large role in doing the opposite of making people rise. Not always, and there's always like a fucking polarity to it. Yeah, churches do some good stuff. Yep. I have been helped by Christians. So I'm not here to especially individual people, individual Christians. But it's like the doctrine, the fucking practice, the inherited um, culture around religion and its power struggle on kids especially. People love to like point fingers at the pope or religious people, monarchs, or whoever the fuck, priests and shit, but it's literally everybody that decides to participate in the um I had a good word but I forget it. I need to work on words again. I'm trying too hard. But either way, it's just not very helpful. I think at this point in our human history, if you're not helping kids rise up to an occasion to be something that they want to be, especially to meet their dreams. And I don't even mean like shit like Wish or whatever, where like there's kids that are in the hospital, they're gonna die and shit like that, and you fulfill their wishes. Why just them? Why just those kids? Why just those kids and then other kids in America in normal situations are depraved of like love and humanity and appreciation and of their feelings, of their entitlement, of their right to feel and think and be the way that they are. Just as a kid, I'm not talking about like, I don't know. I like there's a difference between a really um undisciplined kid and just a normal kid trying to be a kid. And that's the thing too. It's like our society is overcorrecting for the undisciplined kids. So the kids that are like really bad, really, or just with mental diseases and shit that have not as good of a grasp on, you know, certain things the way humans work, but then the nice kids fall victim to this shit. And that's where all the fucking downfall, the detriment comes from, is all the nice kids, all the nice men, all the nice guys grow up indoctrinated into this cult of feeling like they aren't good enough, like they don't deserve to fulfill their dreams, like they don't deserve to have a life. And that's why they fucking finish last. Because we're overcorrecting for the not that many bad kids. Most kids are normal. Most kids are, I mean, I don't know. Most kids are fine. And if the parents actually did their fucking job, more kids would be fine. I don't know. I just, when I have kids, I am not going to strip them of their humanity. I'm not going to invalidate their thoughts and feelings, even if they may be irrational, which kids be that way sometimes. But I'm not here to force kids to stop being humans. Oftentimes, it's the kids who are most human, and oftentimes it's adults who are lacking humanity. But that's the cost of power, I guess, in America is, and that's what I really hate too. People just take people abuse their power. Like they just fucking do. I hate it. Everybody hates seeing it, but they still participate in it. Nobody's doing anything about it. Even the cops themselves just fucking participate in it. There's video footage of cops just letting other cops be assholes. Of course, it's not every cop. Of course, it's not every person. Of course, it's not every adult. Everybody's different. All these other shits, and there's all kinds of justifications and I forget the word, exceptions that you can name. But at the end of the day, the problems are still there, but nobody's doing anything about it. It's like everybody's trying to look for a problem to solve instead of solving their own problems. I was no different. I'm working on myself and I'm working on bettering my life one step at a fucking time. As always. I mean, I never not was. I never wasn't. But I also was participating in this same system that everybody else participates in of trying to solve somebody else's fucking problem. When they're not just accepting that they are the problem, that their problem is their own. I don't know. I don't know, man. It's frustrating seeing myself, my family, my parents, my people I know, people I don't know, people on the internet, all participate in this very system of um, putting the other person down to feel better than them. Julian puts it well. Um, he often describes disrespect and what's the word, inferiority, in a way of somebody views themselves lower than somebody else, and so instead of rising up or just abandoning the standards and expectations, instead of doing anything about how they feel about themselves, they look at the other person and try to drag them back down from wherever they stand in their life. And then it causes this uh, chain of vicarious living where everybody's looking at the other person. Everybody's looking in the other way. Everybody's looking through somebody else's eyes. And people refuse to look through their own eyes. And the best part about this is when you finally do, when you finally get to the point where you can just look through your own eyes and be in peace, it's, unless your life is actually bad, it's not that bad. I can't speak for everybody, and I'm American. I can't speak for the whole world. But for the people who are basically just too bored to live their own fucking life, that they have to go and ruin somebody else's because they feel inferior and they're not doing enough to improve their own life, it's toxic. This brings me to another place, but I'll talk about it in another video. A new subject that I want to bring up, but I'll get to that. Right now, it's tiring. It's tiresome watching everybody be unhappy because they're not somebody else. It's a whole culture around it too. Um, you know, wanting luxuries and things that they can't afford or just have no right having. Yet not making a effort to obtain it. Instead, they make an effort to pull down the other person. Cancel culture paints this well. Anyway, that's about it. See ya. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.